A lot of great American furniture can trace its roots back to architectural motifs of the Greeks and the Romans. They incorporated into the designs. On these two clocks that I have here, if we look at the top section, the cornice, to give it a little more life and to break it up, we've incorporated a dental molding. Two of the most common forms are the Greek key, which we see here, and a standard block dental molding, which we see on this clock carcass. Now, there's a lot of up and down movement on these and a lot of spacing. So some time has to be taken in the layout to make sure everything ends up the proper way, so you end up on a block as opposed to a void. Let's take a look at how we do that. This cornice mold is actually made of 4 pieces, and the dental mold nestles between the top piece and on this flat of the lower piece. To figure out the length, I have to take this distance from here to here and add in the thickness of my molding twice. That gives me the overall. To get a nice even spacing, I need to figure out how many units I have here. And a unit consists of a block and the void in between it. I want that to be an even number. But I also want this thing to look right when it ends, so I have to add in an additional block. So to basically lay it out, I take the overall length, subtract the block, and divide it by the length of a unit, which in this case works out to 5/8 of an inch. When I do that formula, I end up with 24 point something or other. So we're not going to have 24 point something units. I'm going to round it to 24 units and set my dividers to that. Let me show you how we do it. On this piece of stock that I'm going to turn into the dental mold, I've put 2 lines which show where the pattern starts and finishes, but I did have to factor in that block that sits on the end. Now I'm going to take this piece and divide it into 24 units. Now I'm setting my dividers to what the math roughly told me it should be, in this case 5/8 of an inch. To verify it though, I have to begin here, clip off my 24 points, and make sure that when I'm done I finish on the line. And if I'm long or if I'm short, I then have to compensate by opening the divider up a little bit or shrinking it down. This process can be a little tedious, but it's worth doing so that you know when you finish you're going to have a good pattern, and there I am right on top. To lay out the block, I'm going to set my pencil in the middle of the indent, slide up my square, and just work my way down, putting a line across all the way. This will break it into the 24 units. To facilitate cutting these, I need to transfer these lines along the edge. So I'm just going to mark my way down. Now what I'm going to do is take my magic marker and put a dot on each line, indicating which side of that line to cut on. I do that to avoid confusion, because it's real easy when you're cutting away to go to the wrong side of one of the lines. Now that we've marked this one, it's ready to cut. Let's take a look at how we cut the Greek key. The principle is very much the same. The end unit here is a vertical, a flat horizontal, another vertical, and a lower horizontal. This constitutes a basic unit. Because we want it to end evenly, we're going to finish up with 2 verticals and an upper horizontal. So we have a series of these units repeating again and again and again, and concluding with this little U-channel on the end. Let's see how we lay it out, because it is a little different. We're going to repeat many of the steps laying out this one as we did in the last one. Now this strip is half the thickness of this first strip we laid out. The reason being, with the Greek key, because we're cutting on both sides, I need to be at final width. On this wider piece, I plan on getting a cutting off of each edge. Having calculated my unit, I'm going to go ahead and step it off. And then put my lines across it. Now I'm just dividing them into the 20 units this one works out to be. What's different in this case is that these units will have to be broken down further as well, because we have 2 voids rather than 1. So each one of these units, which is about 3/4 of an inch, breaks down into two verticals, an upper horizontal and a lower horizontal. Each one of those is 3/16 of an inch wide. So I'm going to put marks to delineate where those belong. And then I need to continue this across the whole length of the strip. The easiest way to do that is to just begin here, take my dividers, and just begin the whole process again, starting from 3/16 of an inch further over, running it all the way down. Now I've gone ahead and laid out another strip, but there is something I want to point out to you. On this block dental, the unit ended here, and I simply had to add on an extra block. The Greek key is different. The unit ends here, but we still have one more void that we have to put in it. I personally like to start the same way. So we have a void on the bottom side, a void on the bottom side. It gives it a real nice symmetry. It looks really nice. How this translates to the actual layout is really pretty simple. Basically, I needed to extend it 1 click, 2 clicks, and this last one is where I'll put the lower void. Now we've just laid out the Greek key and already the block dental. The same process will be repeated for the side. The only thing that will be different is we have a shorter span to work with.